just going to do a quick walk around here and just show you a few other little things. As far as controls or the operator platform, on these machines they had a weird long side panel that came down right over here pretty much, and you had to almost step around it, and you'd hook your feet and trip and almost fall. And the seat had a long snout that came down in the thing over here where you had to lift your leg up and over every time you got in the machine. It was very clumsy, and they had kind of a weird low seat that you sat almost your head barely over the dash. You were almost laying down in the stupid thing, so very poor line of sight. So what we did was cut the riser box over the transfer case, squared it off, and put a small compact seat from a delivery truck in there. This seat is now finished. I'm going to be looking at changing this over to probably something like a small compact seat from a front of a fishing boat or something like that. And we changed the floorboard over, and I have it sitting right there. Everything's been modified on here. On the side here, on the opposite side, to make our control, the old machines, they used to have your hydraulic blade control up on the dash, along with they had a small orbit motor steering actually. But the orbit motor steering was long since gone. It was leaking, I guess. The guy threw it off there, and he had to put a different, just a stick control on here. So yes, it is just a left, right, whatever. It just goes forward and backwards. Push in goes right, pull back goes left. Turn the machine left. Of course, we had to make a whole linkage setup for the automatic transmission from down here up under the dash here. Our own homemade shifter linkage with an old valve spring and a bolt through it with a stop on the other side. And you're literally your 1, 2, 3, and then neutral and reverse. But actually, when I'm skidding and working, 99% of the time, I'm in low gear first, and when I'm dangling back to the bush empty, I'm just in second gear. I never go in actual drive or in third gear. It's too fast. The machine will literally go 35-40 mile an hour down the road, and at that point or whatever, it becomes a little bit unstable, dangerous, and what will happen is the transfer case will literally puke all the oil out of the top breather that they have on here, so you'll empty the oil out of the transfer case. So you have to never really go faster than second gear with this thing, which is like, I don't know, 8, 9 mile an hour or whatever. First gear, like I say, is working gear that I work in, and that's how it's set up. Now, as far as Grapple, well, they didn't have this machine. Definitely was not a Grapple machine when it came from the factory. It had a winch bolted on right over here where this jug is here, on these mounts here on the back of the cab. On this earlier one, the later ones, they had the winch mounted on the rear section of the frame. Earlier ones, they had them over here on the back of the front section of the frame behind the cab. So they had this hole over here was cut through the back plate, and they had a chain drive that went down to a transfer shaft in there, which we took that all apart. That's off, and there's just even took the universal joint off I believe the back of the transfer case. It's just all there is just the stub with a nut there now. So, but anyways, if you remember watching in some of my earlier videos of this machine here a little while back, how I took the cylinder apart and repacked that head. But anyways, you can watch that and get the whole explanation. I'm not getting back into that. That was a modified hoist cylinder we put on here. Like I say, 5-inch or 5.5-inch bore, 32-inch stroke. Booms. Main Grapple boom is actually 3/8 or almost half-inch thick steel from a Crawler Cat subframe. That's the roller frame right there. You can actually see where the marks from where the lower rollers were on it here in each whatchamacallit. It came off an old Alice Chalmer HD9 or HD7 Cat, something like that. I forget. They're real heavy double channels. You can see they got all the bolt holes all the way down here where the rollers were bolted to. Dad took this and literally welded the two and made a big box tube out of it, like a 8x8 by half-inch thick steel box tube. Like I say here, I made this quick attach bale fork a number of years ago for emergency springtime moving hay bales in mud and stuff like that. But I have to redo my mount here. This is not the concept. The spike works well. It works really good on this machine for if I have to forward some bales out of a low area or something, or feed cows in less than ideal weather conditions instead of beating up my farm tractors, I do that. But anyways, as the original machine goes, that's the boom. We just cut the top of the roller fair lead off to make room to get the boom in, and we've never had any problems with it spreading or bending or anything like that. And believe me, I've pulled so hard with this thing that I literally have almost laid the machine on the side a few times over the years. Well, more than a few times, but anywho, have never twisted or bent anything. We designed it well, and it held together till now, and it probably will continue. If it hasn't bent at this point or let go, it won't. As far as the grapple box, it is a little bit small. I don't remember exactly how many inches across, 42 inch, something like that, I believe, from point to point. Cylinders inside the box were from like a Barco number 60 or 80, the Grapple, the clam cylinders off the Grapple of a pulpwood log loader. Dad knew a guy that had a couple of cylinders laying in a shed. He had a whole bunch of junk he was getting rid of, so got the cylinders. He took the cylinders apart, repacked them, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. Made a tree pusher that when the boom is right up in the air, it's up about 8-9 feet when it's right up. And this works so unbelievably good for pushing toppling trees over, that instead of fighting with and using wedges and banging away with axes and running the risk of getting something rolled over and crushing a saw or getting yourself hurt, literally just notch your trees, cut your stump and get it ready. Don't cut it up quite all the way, just leave a little bit of holding wood, so even if the tree sets back a bit, no big deal. Pull your saw out before you get pinched, and then back up with the skidder, lift this up and back into it, this thing, and give a little push, and over the tree goes, and all is good. Overall, like I say, this machine has pulled a lot of wood over the years. We've done a lot of work with it. Like I say, a lot of folks were asking about this machine, so anyways, that's the overall of this little international paylogger. You were all asking questions about, like I say, the setup, the powertrain, the transmission, hydraulics and all that. I know this is probably a pretty long-winded video, but for some of you machinery geeks out there like me or whatever, you like this kind of stuff and you wanted to know, so no big deal for me today. I opened this up because I have a couple of little grease zerks there on the back of that coupler on that transfer case transmission universal joint that I have to grease there. That's the last one that I can't get to. I always have to lift the floorboard to get to it to do it. Not a big deal. To open this whole thing up like this, literally today took me less than 10 minutes. Each side panel here, this side panel and the one on the other side to protect the engine, is two bolts on 2 bolts on this side, 2 bolts on the other side, and there's 4 bolts that hold the floor pan down, and that's it. My throttle foot feeder is mounted up on the firewall. It's not mounted to the floorboard, so it's not an issue as far as to get in for serviceability. We designed it that way when we redesigned it. Like I say, we cut and changed a lot of different things. The operator control, we mounted the Grapple hydraulic control and the blade control. Dad manufactured and cut a piece of steel plate, put it on the side right next to the seat there, and everything is mounted there in a nice compact, well, as you can see, blade control here, and our boom and our grapple squeeze here. So 2 controls there, 1 here. Everything is within easy reach or whatever when you're operating, and then you got your left hand, like I say, up here on your shifter and your steering control. So everything is was well thought out, well laid out. Didn't have to change much once we took a lot of time working things back and forth, making templates with the cardboard and just laying things out and sitting on the machine or whatever, and think things through when you're putting these things together, and it works well. That's the machine. Well, there you have it, folks. By viewer request, some of you wanted to know all the finer details about the old international paylogger skidder. Well, I just gave it to you. Whether you want it or not, you got it. So you got a long-winded explanation and a detailed overview of how we put this old machine back together with car parts, and you know what? It's worked pretty well, and it's still working to this day. After the initial crazy idea of putting a car engine and transmission and putting it all together, There was, like I say, a lot of work, a lot of forethought that went into this, and it worked. We followed through with it, and we kept going until we got it worked out. Was there issues at first? Yeah, there were some bugs we worked out, but for the most part, it wasn't bad. There was a few little things, hydraulics and things like that, that gave us a little bit of grief at the very beginning, until we learned where to route certain hoses and certain things so things don't get caught in the bush when you're working, things like that. But everybody runs into those problems, even with factory designed equipment. The factory doesn't always get things right. A lot of times you always say, well, why did they put this here or there? It gets caught or whatever. Engineer oversight, I guess, but this got re-engineered by a couple of farmers. So anyways, thanks everybody for stopping by, checking out the video. I appreciate it. Don't forget the old thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. And like I always say, if you don't subscribe to my channel, go ahead and subscribe to your favorite YouTube channel. It means a lot to us small content creators here on YouTube. Again, thanks everybody, and we'll see you all in the next one. Till then, take care. Just a little side note here in case any of you are wondering, or I'm sure somebody's going to comment on this and say that, well, having a V8 engine and a skidder, that thing must be revving away like crazy and you must be burning gallons and gallons of gas. Actually, no. When I'm operating, for the most part, when I'm pulling, I'm just running at a fast idle. The gearing is just right. The engine doesn't work all that hard unless I get snagged up or whatever, and I got a big pine tree or something or whatever with a bunch of limbs tangled up in a brush or something, and I have to back up and go ahead a few times. Got to kind of lay into it a bit then to break it loose or whatever and yank it out. But for the most part, if I'm just skidding clean wood to the landing, if I'm doing a mix of cutting and skidding and stop and start, I'll burn less than a gallon an hour of gas, about 3/4 of a gallon an hour. If I'm doing just straight up skidding, where I'm just running back and forth all afternoon, non-stop, picking up skids and piling at the landing, tree lengths, something like that or whatever, where I'm, like I say, the machine is running non-stop, or doing a little bit of dozer work in the past that I did with it, I'll burn a little over a gallon an hour. But that's about it. For what it is, it's actually not bad on fuel, and the automatic transmission in here works very, very smooth, very nice. It's almost like a shuttle shift. And you have to let off the throttle. Of course, it's an automatic. Let the machine come to a stop every time you shift from forward to reverse. But it works extremely well on landings for piling wood and pushing wood up on your pile and stuff. So that it worked out very well.